Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Liz. For today's video, I am filming in my kitchen. I don't normally film in my kitchen because, as you can see, there's not really anywhere for me to film that looks nice, and I don't have great lighting in the kitchen. So hopefully it looks alright on camera. But I wanted to come to you today in my kitchen to talk to you about canning. Canning has been something that I have been researching and learning about for a while, but haven't actually put into practice. And the reason being, I didn't really know where to start. I didn't know if it was going to be practical for me because I don't have a root cellar and I don't have a huge pantry to store food. I also don't have a large amount of food. Up until now, I haven't really had a huge garden, but this year, if you've been following along, I expanded our backyard garden, so I'm anticipating a large amount of tomatoes and peppers and just a lot more food to be able to preserve. This year is the year that I'm going to start canning. I'm going to start small. I am by no means planning on completely eliminating our need for the grocery store because our garden just isn't big enough. But I am hoping to minimize our need for the grocery store on like main staples that we eat a lot of, like pasta sauce, jam, salsas, hot sauces, things like that. So today's video is the first of hopefully many to come canning videos, and this one's probably the most important because this one is going to include everything you need to get started. I've done a lot of research. There's different methods, there's probably different preferences on what you need, on what some people think you need and what others don't. I've kind of tried to strip it down to the bare minimum, the basics, so that if you also are interested in canning and want to get started, you don't have to spend a lot of money up front. So if you are interested in also learning about canning and want to get started, then just keep on watching. So the first thing we have to talk about is the two different types of canning. There is pressure canning and water bath canning. Specifically, I'm going to be starting out with water bath canning because it seems more attainable to me, and I believe it's going to serve me better for the things that I want to preserve. I'm looking to preserve a lot of high acid foods, and high acid foods are completely safe to water bath can. When it comes to pressure canning is for things that don't have a lot of acid, so they can at a higher temperature. If it doesn't have a lot of acid in it, like green beans or meats, you're going to want a pressure can. Anything really containing a large amount of tomatoes, and for jams and stuff, if you add lemon juice and such, water bath canning is perfectly safe. So I may come at you guys with future videos on pressure canning, but for now, today we're going to be talking about water bath canning. So when it comes to canning, the first thing you're going to need are some jars. I am personally using Ball jars. It's just Ball brand jars. There are different brands out there. There are Care jars. Care jars are also made by Ball, I believe. So I'm not sure what the difference is between Care and Ball. I've never used Care jars, but I know that those are safe to use for canning. And there are Weck jars. Weck jars are kind of the European equivalent to canning jars. Ball jars are kind of the most common USA-made canning jars. I went with Ball because I live in the United States and it is the most easily accessible to me and it's cheaper for me. But when it comes to Ball canning jars, there are lots of different sizes and even types of jars. So the main difference between the types of jars are regular mouth and wide mouth jars. And hopefully you can see that difference, that this one is a lot smaller of an opening, this one's a lot bigger. These are both the same size jar, they just have a different top to them. And both will work for canning. It just really depends on your personal preference and what you're looking to can. So the regular mouth jars are really good for things like tomato sauce, pasta sauce, anything that's kind of liquidy. And the wide mouth jars are good for things like pickles, things that are bigger that you really want to pack in your jar. So I am planning on using a combination of both because I have both. So aside from your jars, you're also going to need lids. The lids are really important because they can't be reused. This is the kind of only drawback, I think, when it comes to canning, because it's a little bit wasteful, but you don't have to waste these. You can use these lids on quick pickling recipes. You can use them for ferments, anything that you're going to put in your fridge that you're not going to be canning. You can reuse these lids. You just can't reuse them to can, because once they seal, that's kind of it. They aren't able to be sealed again. There are reusable options. They're called Tadler lids, I believe, but I don't have enough knowledge on how to use them, and I want to kind of, for my first time around, use the tried and true method before experimenting with different methods. So this is an example of the lids. This is just one that I have that came on one of my mason jars. It comes in two parts. You guys have probably seen a mason jar lid before, but this is the seal part. This orange part right here, that's the seal. So when you pressurize these jars and you get them really hot, this lid gets sucked down. And this orange stuff around it is kind of flexible. So when it sucks it down with enough pressure that this lid becomes stuck to the jar. And that's how you know that your jar is sealed, and it also won't make this noise. But we'll get more into that when we actually can something. I will film that experience for you guys. But it comes in two parts, this part and this part. This part can be reused as many times as you want. Just like there are two different types of jars, there are two different types of lids. You have your wide mouth lids, which are just bigger, and your regular mouth lids. These are just these pieces. You can buy the lids with both pieces if you don't have them, but for most people you only need to repurchase this piece because you just save this piece. They come in packs of 12 and they range anywhere from $1 to like $3.80, I believe. The wide mouth lids are a little bit more expensive, but not by much. So I got 2 packs of each because 24 lids to me sounds like a decent amount, and these are really easily available. They're on Amazon. So you've got your lids, you've got your jars. The other couple of things I'm going to show you over by my stove. So the lighting's definitely going to be darker over here, but just for a moment. I wanted to show you my really big canner. This is a Graniteware 21.5 quart, 20.3 liter canner. It comes with a rack inside, and this is the reason why I ordered it. You can just use a very large pot, but I'll show you the largest pot I have and why I chose to purchase this. The rack just goes like this, and you can put your jars in here and then lower it down. You can also stack this on top of jars and then do a double layer. But the pot, you can see just how big it is. Like, it's bigger than my head. And the reason for that is just because you can fit a lot of jars in here. If I'm going to take the time in my day to cook up large batches of stuff and can them, I really only want to have to do it once and be done. So that's why I went with the really big pot. This is also very inexpensive. I believe I paid $18 for this whole thing, rack included. And for me, that works within my budget. So it's just whatever works for you. You can use a large pot. If you don't want to take the plunge, you're not sure if you're going to like canning or how much of it you're going to do, just use a large pot. It'll work just the same. For water bath canning, all you need to do is boil water. So then the next thing you're going to need is another large pot. You're just going to need a collection of large pots. So if you are an avid thrift store shopper or a garage sale shopper, keep an eye out for some large pots. This is my kind of like stock pot, pasta pot. You can see here it's pretty big. It's a standard sized, just like pasta pot. I make a lot of soups in here. I make my vegetable broth in here. You're gonna want pretty large pots in order to cook up large batches of food in order to jar and then put in your water bath canner. I've seen people use crock pots, all kinds of things. So just get creative, but you're going to want an arsenal of a few large pots. So then the last couple of things you're going to need are tools that are going to make your life easier. These things are not necessary. You can definitely can without them, but they are quality of life upgrades, and there aren't a lot by any means. If you are interested in canning, you may have seen like some sets going around on Amazon or other places being sold. Usually they include a lot of pieces that aren't 100% necessary, but I was able to find this 3-piece set sold by Ball, and it has just the basics in it, so I was comfortable buying this because I only wanted like minimum stuff. I don't like clutter. I don't like kitchen gadgets. This 3-piece set comes with a jar lifter, a headspace tool, and a jar funnel. And those were the 3 things as a beginner that I wanted to get. So the first piece is this jar lifter. This is pretty self-explanatory, but you just use it to lift your jars. This is really useful because these jars are going to be very hot when you take them out of your water bath canner. They're also going to be pretty delicate because once they're hot, you don't want to accidentally drop them. You don't want to accidentally put them on a hard surface too hard or they will shatter. So the jar lifter kind of just helps you out there. You just open it like this. You put it right underneath this lip right here. And it's got grip here, so it's got a good grip. And it's just a handy tool to help you nicely lift and place your jars. The next tool is this little plastic thing right here, which this is a kind of double-ended tool. So this side is to remove any air bubbles. So when you fill your jars with food, there's bound to be some air pockets, some air bubbles. And all you do is you take this little tool, say this is full with like tomato sauce or something. You just go like this and you run it around the edge of the jar to get any of the air bubbles out. But the other side is the side that I was more interested in and the more useful side to me, and that is the headspace tool. So you can see there's these little kind of indents. These little indents are each marked at 1 inch, 3/4 an inch, 1/2 an inch, and 1/4 an inch. And you take this little guy, put it on the edge of your jar, and that's how much headspace to leave. So if it says leave 1 inch of headspace, you want to make sure you put this on the edge of your jar at 1 inch, and that the bottom of this is where your food comes up to. So pretty useful, especially for a first-time canner if you're not able to judge what 1/4 of an inch of headspace looks like. So I definitely wanted to get this because the headspace can make or break whether your jar seals properly. And when you're going through all the work and the effort to prepare and then can, to not have something seal properly just because of headspace is really gonna suck. So this little thing is worth the investment. The last bit is a funnel. A funnel is pretty self-explanatory. You put it on top of your jar, and then you can easily just scoop whatever you made into the jar cleanly. You can definitely do without a funnel, but you won't make a mess everywhere. Especially if you're dealing with liquid, it's much easier to pour liquid through a funnel. And then the last thing, which I'm sure you all have, is just a large spoon. A large ladle, large spoon, whatever that you can easily scoop into your funnel, into your jar. That is pretty much everything I have to get started. I purchased all of these things with my own money. This is not sponsored. I will leave links to everything down below that you can check out. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It really helps out my channel. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on notifications as well. But that's about it for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video.